If you're ready to unlock more better days, to take control of your health, to push past your limits and unleash your full potential, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Dr. Jeremy Bettle. For over 2 decades, I've worked with elite athletes and high performers, helping them optimize their bodies, strengthen their minds, and recover from setbacks. Now I'm bringing that expertise to you through the Vitality Collective podcast. In each episode, we'll dive deep into the science, strategies, and real-world solutions you can apply right away. Whether it's enhancing your physical performance, avoiding or recovering from injury, sharpening your mental edge, or simply feeling your best every single day. With insights from top experts and thought leaders, this podcast is designed to help you take action, feel better, and live the life that you deserve. Welcome to the Vitality Collective podcast, where every day is vital. Today I'm joined by Erika Hoffmaster, a registered dietitian who specializes in helping women build stable nutritional habits beyond restrictive dieting. In this conversation, we talk about why that Thanksgiving dinner won't derail your goals, the difference between weight gain and fat gain, and why restriction creates a slingshot effect. If you've been stressing out about how to make it through the holidays without losing progress, or you're tired of the all or nothing approach, this conversation's for you. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody. Today, it's such a pleasure to welcome mine and Michelle's dear friend, Erika Hoffmaster, back to the show.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
It's such a pleasure. It's so funny because we go for these coffees and 18 hours later, we're still there talking about nutrition.
I know.
And so this time we have our coffee and we have microphones. Let's dive into the holidays. People worry so much about their nutrition, and you see everything from screw it, from Halloween to New Year's, I'm just going to go absolutely crazy. And then you see other people who are like, how do I make a healthy recipe for Thanksgiving? What are some of the big things that come up in your work? You have conversations every day with people about this.
Yeah, oftentimes the holidays are really hard for clients because routines and systems just kind of disappear and get thrown out the window. So everything that normally is in place to protect our health or to prioritize our health. So things like our sleep routines, our movement routines, predictable meals, normal times that you go to the grocery store, normal times that kids are in school and work, or those types of structures get traded for oftentimes chaos. It's really hard for people to kind of manage that shakeup in routines and systems.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. I hadn't necessarily thought about it in terms of those underlying systems that get disrupted. I do think about the chaos a lot. You know, families coming into town, entertaining. Most people think Thanksgiving to New Year's is the holidays, but I always start that clock at Halloween.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
Go and you take the kids, or the kids go out trick-or-treating, and they bring back the world's supply of candy.
Or they've already purchased the world's supply of candy for trick-or-treaters, so it's already in your home before the trick-or-treating actually starts. That's often a culprit as well.
Yeah, but then it starts showing up everywhere. Right, so it's at the desk as you walk into work. It's on everybody else's desk. So everywhere you go, there's these little treats, and then we have Thanksgiving. And we have leftovers and everything else going right into December. Then the holiday parties start kicking up. The alcohol intake starts cranking up.
Yep.
And it can really spiral quickly. So,
but I would like to point out, though, that if we're going to calculate, Halloween to Christmas, how many days that actually is. In the grand scheme of things, how many days realistically are we having those holiday meals or those holiday parties or the leftovers, right? It's kind of like a small portion of it, but for a lot of people, it's what happens in between those meals. There's like only 30 days in November, right? And so if somebody is eating 3 meals a day, let's say, that's, you can correct my math, but I think that's 90 meals. 90, think about 90 opportunities, eating opportunities, right? And say we have Thanksgiving Day, or maybe we still have a couple of days of where we kind of overdo it on candy left over from Halloween. just say that that's like 7 meals out of 90, right? That's
Right.
not a lot. That's basically leaves you with 83 meals or opportunities to continue following the norm and eating balanced meals and sticking to normal routines, right? I always kind of say that it's not the actual meal. It's not Thanksgiving. It's what happens the days after, the weeks in between, where we kind of just like throw in the towel and have this all or nothing mentality, when in reality it's just a couple of meals. It can just be a couple of meals, and we kind of tend to let it kind of linger from there.
Yeah, and so let's dig into that a little bit. People get really worried about, how can I make a healthy version of Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah. I get this a
Right?
lot.
Yeah, and my response was, don't. Right? It's Thanksgiving. Enjoy the Thanksgiving dinner. So that one meal compared to a regular meal, let's say maybe it's double the calories. I don't know. But okay, maybe it's double the calories. Talk us through a little bit about like single meals. How disastrous is that single meal for my body composition, for my health in the big scheme of things, even if it's 2 times the calories?
Yeah, it's not at all what people kind of think is happening in your body after a giant meal, right? People often mistaken weight gain on the scale with fat gain. But the weight that you typically see on the scale after a giant meal is usually water weight, an increase of glycogen. So that's this, we store carbohydrates in the form of glycogen in our liver and our muscles. And when we store that, it gets stored with water and water weight and just actual more food in our stomach and in our guts, right?
I was going to say, if you just weighed the plate,
Yes.
right? Weigh the plate and then weigh yourself after. That's the weight you gain.
Absolutely. And it's not that it's immediately going to be turning into body fat. That's not really how energy balance works, and our body is so great at managing these like highs and lows. This one meal is not going to add to that fat gain that a lot of people associate with these meals. It's kind of going back to what I was saying. It's the consistency of doing that. So these
Right.
one-off meals, that like going back to that, the example that I gave, if you have 7 meals that are not like on plan or, holiday meals type meals in the month of November, you have 83 other opportunities to stay within calorie range, to eat balanced meals, to hit certain nutrient targets. And it's not really going to make that huge of a difference in actual fat gain. It might fluctuate the scale, which is weight gain, which is different. It's, I'm with you on the Thanksgiving dinner. Oftentimes we think about food as energy or fueling. And I think we can underestimate the fact that fuel is, or food is also connection and culture and a way of sharing experiences. And so no one's going to look back years from now and say, oh, I'm so glad November 2025 I had the healthy version of pumpkin pie. You know what I mean? And didn't enjoy time with family and enjoy this food that I love. And I often kind of say too, with specific foods, enjoy them with purpose and not on autopilot. I go into eating fun foods around the holidays purposefully. Like, that is my absolute favorite thing that I want to eat. I cannot wait. Right. And I'm intentional and I enjoy it. And you're enjoying it with family and the whole entire experience. And then you move on from that, right? You want to enjoy those meals. You just don't want to eat just because the stuff is there, and be a little bit more intentional about the choices.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. Be intentional, but be present. And it's fine if you stuff yourself that one meal. Like, go for it. But be present and enjoy the meal. We know from all the research in longevity, from a body composition standpoint, if you're obese and lonely, it's better for you to get into a community and make a friend than it is to lose the weight.
Yeah, absolutely.
So focus on that aspect of food. So much of it is about preparing the food with your family and enjoying the meal together. I think that's so much more important than this one meal being the make or break thing that you have to not put any sugar in your pumpkin pie. Like, it's a surefire way to make sure you are eating alone next year.
Yeah, don't bring that to your families. I mean, I should say that there is a balance. So, talking with clients, I often say you can bring certain foods to kind of round out a meal, right? Looking at it from the standpoint of how do you want to feel during the experience and afterwards, right? And I work with clients a lot to really tune into their body and fully understand what works specifically for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use myself as an example. I love ice cream. My body does not, right? So on a holiday, that might be something I would love to have, but I refrain from because it doesn't make me feel really good. Or I'll start adding other foods that day that really do allow me to feel energized, and I have a lot of energy so I can play with my nieces and hang out with family. And so you can bring foods to meals or to holiday parties that might be supportive of your health to help you feel better in that moment, but also not eliminate the things that you genuinely love, right? If you know you're going to go into a family gathering where there's literally no vegetables, but vegetables make you feel full longer and you feel like that's still a goal you want to implement, bring them and share them with family, right? But also enjoy the pumpkin pie or what all the other things that you want as well. So it's finding that balance that's important.
Okay, so that's on the day, right? So we're not going to be stressed about the day. We're going to enjoy Thanksgiving. We're going to enjoy Christmas. We'll enjoy New Year's. What about those systems in between time?
Yes. I think we start by setting very realistic expectations. This is crucial. Everyone's experience around the holidays are very different. Some people's routines and schedules are all over the place. And so there is no structure. I don't really ever have clients going into the season in a fat loss phase or in a calorie deficit. So usually where I have clients at maintenance where they're not gaining, they're not losing, they're kind of balancing the energy budget. And that allows for this flexibility of having a little bit of extra treats or enjoying the holidays and being in the moment. And so setting these kind of expectations in advance and putting these skills in place to say, oh, I can fit these things in is crucial. And also being realistic with our time frame too. Oftentimes, a lot of the women that I work with go into the holidays very like, I want to continue doing 3 to 4 workouts a week and I want to continue meal prepping all the meals. Okay, but the kids are going to be home from school on vacation and work might be complete chaos going into the end of the year and your schedule might not allow for those things. So how can we set realistic goals during this season? And that allows you to be in these situations where there might be extra candy or things available, but you've already gone into this season with realistic expectations and goals so that you can make choices and decisions in that moment and allow yourself the flexibility to enjoy those things if you want to.
But I think that the flexibility piece in itself is actually going to be novel to a lot of people who think they have to be in a weight loss mindset year round. So even the thought of going into the holidays in a maintenance phase where you don't have to be in a calorie deficit, and it wouldn't matter if it was the holidays or not. We're not trying to be starving all the time. You don't have to work out to earn your meals, your treats.
Yeah.
That's not a mindset people have outside of the holidays. And so when they start over consuming relative to what they would normally be doing, there can be a lot of guilt that feeds into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you address the guilt and help people to change the mindset around that?
I think it's a lot of understanding of our body and that we don't need to be technically in a calorie deficit fat loss phase all the time, which is common.
Hmm.
Um, I work with many women that are coming to me and they've been in on a diet constantly in a calorie deficit forever and
Hmm.
ever.
Hmm.
Right. And so any kind of movement off plan or off a diet can feel like they're out of control. And
Hmm.
so I think the thing that I work with clients on and what I encourage everyone to do is to be really educated on energy balance
Hmm.
and that we can hit and achieve goals um, without constantly being in a deficit
Hmm.
constantly. And in fact, I want most of my clients to be at maintenance the majority of the time. And then we go into specific fat loss phases. And often this is a trend that I see and why I think the holidays can be really difficult is most diets and health plans that people are on are based on what I would call like perfect days,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Where that they're designed for when we're full of energy and we have control of everything and our refrigerators are stocked and our schedule is perfect, right? And so when we get to the holidays where kind of like we already talked about the routines and all the things are kind of thrown out the window, it is really difficult for people to then say, okay, well, my days aren't perfect anymore. So now what do I do? What I typically encourage is not just around the holidays, but all the time. I call it the full tank and low tank habits. When we have these specific goals and these specific targets, most of them usually being some type of body composition change or fat loss, we have to create habits to kind of reach those goals. And so I like to look at them as two levels: your full tank habit and your low tank habit, right?
Right.
What if you have all the energy in the world and everything, it's a perfect day, right? What does that habit look like on a full tank? That could be going to the gym 3 to 4 times a
Hmm.
week. That could be meal prepping all your meals for the week, um, doing a full stocked fridge, you know, and
Hmm.
then take those same habits. And what's the low tank? The majority of my clients are women. And so I always use the example of on the first couple of days of your cycle, right? Most of the
Right.
time,
Right.
most
Right.
of the time women are like, I'm not doing anything on that day. And I'm like,
Right.
well, exactly. Right. So
Right.
what is your low tank habit on that day? What's the thing that we can still have forward momentum, still allow you to feel like you're making progress towards your goals, even on the worst day? So
Hmm.
going into the holidays, having those levels and still keeping habits alive that you can continue doing even when there's the chaos of the holidays going on.
Yeah, I absolutely love that full tank low tank habit. We have a similar thing. We have like plan A, plan B workouts for
Mm-hmm.
really similar recommendations for clients and for ourselves. These last few weeks, we have just been going so hard within the business that they've been plan B workouts, right? It's 20 minutes. It's what can we do? For me, running is one of those things. Like, I don't have to think. I just have to leave the house and go and run,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So there's something that's easier about it than a lift where it's I've got to plan it and I've got to go to the gym and I've got to do it. And then today we went to the gym and we did a 20-minute 4 exercise circuit, and we just went through and we finished with some quick intervals and we came home. And
That's awesome.
you,
But you're showing up and you're making a vote.
yes, we're
Yeah.
keeping that habit alive.
Yes.
Much to your point.
Mm-hmm. Which is really hard to do when things are just all over the place and it's just chaos of the season.
We talked about it earlier, but it's easy to think, well, I'm busy, I can't do it. So you just don't do anything. And
Yeah.
I think it's easy to think, well, I know I can't lose weight during the holidays or be resigned to, well, I'm going to gain 10 pounds during the holidays. And that's just what that's going to be. And so you don't even put any thought into how that might not happen.
Yeah, and
What
I
would
kind
be
of
some
like to
tips around that?
I like to reframe it. I honestly don't think I have anyone going into the holidays in a fat loss phase. We're kind of like building the skill of being at maintenance, which is a skill to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And also looking at it from the standpoint of like, what amazing things can we achieve at maintenance? We can achieve a lot of things at maintenance. One, just the skill of being at maintenance is so vital and so
Can I
important.
pause you there? Like, explain
Mm-hmm.
that to me. What does it mean that to have a skill of staying at maintenance?
There's a mazillion diets and trends and all the things to be in a calorie deficit, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, most of those things don't teach you how to maintain it.
Right.
And to maintain that, you can get to a certain place where you have fat loss. And usually what happens is there's this vicious cycle of I lose fat, or I lose weight, and then I regain it.
Mm-hmm.
I lose it again, and then I regain it, right? It's a skill to be able to maintain that loss.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a skill to be at maintenance. At maintenance, you're just what I call balancing the budget. You're giving the body enough energy to cover what it's burning on a typical day. It's like equal balancing the budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not gaining and you're not losing weight. You're
Right.
just you're giving. I don't know how nerdy you want to get right now, but essentially what I tell clients is that we have trillions of cells in our body that are doing lots of work to keep us alive, right? Our brain cells, our heart cells, our skin cells, they're working every single second of the day, no matter what we're doing. We could be sleeping, we could be in a coma, right? These cells still need to function, and they function. They need energy to function.
Mm-hmm.
And we get that energy from the food that we eat. So all our cells throughout the day require energy. And if we give the body enough to balance that budget, right, to cover all of its needs, it's happy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We're feeling all the things. We feel really good. That's maintenance, essentially. You're balancing the budget. You're giving the cells all they need. They're super happy. And this is a time where I'm reframing it in that way with clients is you are making your cells very happy, right? Our body hates being in a deficit, like hates it, right? So at maintenance, it's a mental break, because being in a calorie deficit and in a fat loss phase can be rough. And so being at maintenance allows you to have the flexibility to enjoy a little bit more on the holidays, right? Have that candy that might be left over from Halloween or these kind of holiday meals. And also you're learning the skill of being at maintenance, which is required for when you get to the end of a fat loss phase. Oftentimes what happens is people are like, okay, well, I lost the weight and now I just get to go back to normal. And that's kind of where that weight regain cycle happens. So the skill of being at maintenance is absolutely necessary for you to maintain that fat loss. And so during this holiday season, I'm not just saying, hey, let's go to maintenance so we can just eat more random food, and which is totally okay if that's what you want to do. But I encourage everyone to kind of reframe this time to say, I am like fueling the body right now. How can I take advantage of this time to train and to build muscle, and then to also build the skill that is going to be necessary for when I get to that weight loss goal of being at maintenance. And it really just requires a little bit of experimentation. And that's kind of why I'm saying it's a skill, right? I always say this, we're going into this as an experiment and we need to collect data and we need to kind of like assess how we're feeling and what's going on.
The fear that I can already hear from my clients is that, well, if I don't stay
in a deficit
at this deficit,
right,
I'm going to gain weight, right? How do we come back to maintenance without gaining weight? Or like, don't we just have to stay here?
Right. That is a very tricky position, honestly, that I have to like really walk clients through because that fear is legitimate. I often find that many women have been on a diet or in this
Mm-hmm.
kind of deficit for so long that that is their norm,
Mm-hmm.
right? They might have
Mm-hmm.
some periods of like total reversal and they're just like, screw it, I can't be on a diet anymore. And they go the extreme. But usually it's, I'm going to start again on Monday, or I'm going to start a
Yeah.
new diet, or I'm going to do this new trendy thing. And so they're so used to being in a deficit that actually fueling themselves properly and being at maintenance can feel uncomfortable because you are fueling yourself a little bit better. So you might see those reflected on the scale, but that is
Mm-hmm.
weight. That's not fat gain. And that's totally typical. I spend a lot of time working with clients through these moments and to get through them because it can take a minute to really fully grasp and understand what it actually feels like to be fueling your body properly
Mm-hmm.
versus always constantly being in deficit or always constantly being in a state of restriction.
Yeah. That's something that Michelle and I have noticed in starting this business. We've been a little less strict with our diet. And, it's just the nature of being an entrepreneur, the season of life that we're in. But one of the things that has really stood out is exactly that. Michelle will text me from the gym, and 4 days in a row, she's set a new PR on these lifts and just feels
Mm,
amazing. And it's really interesting when you look at the exercise metabolism side of this. Just what is the energy system? What fuel does it use? And you are providing it with that fuel, and all of a sudden you
yeah.
can work out. That's where those performance gains come from, and it's really interesting. We had a conversation with one of your friends, Dr. Gabrielle Fundero,
Mm,
and she was talking about the holiday period as such a great time to be in the gym, and
yes.
actually just
Oh
use
my
it
God.
for that. You're fueling your body. Go kill it in the gym, not in a way that you have to earn your meals and earn your calories and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Just go
Yeah.
train and you'll kill it.
The funny thing is, even celebrating those wins can be hard
Mm-hmm.
because usually we equate being successful at fat loss or weight loss by a number on the scale
Mm-hmm.
or being in a smaller size, right? So it's not typical or normal to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
celebrate these other type of wins. I mean, I just had a conversation with a client who started off the conversation and she was saying that she was upset because of the scale. And then we started having a conversation and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I have so much energy. I haven't had to take a nap after work in like
Mm-hmm.
weeks, right? I my trainer has upped my weights at the gym." And she's like, sharing all these things and I'm like, "You just listed like 47 wins."
Right.
and 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 she's like, "Oh yeah, often we're so used to equating success with a number where
Mm-hmm.
we don't realize like, no, actually building muscle and being strong and having energy and feeling freaking awesome and fueling your body." And even the win of, she's like, "I just feel like I'm going to get my labs back and they're going to be amazing because I've changed my diet to support that." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, but those should be celebrated, absolutely celebrated." And so I absolutely encourage that narrative change during this when you kind of go into maintenance to find those other types of wins to celebrate.
Yeah, and I think that whole goal system is different. We talked with Dr. Fundero about
Mm-hmm.
the weight neutral approach. It's not that weight loss is a bad thing. It's not a bad goal. You can do it. It's fine. And the thing is, it should be in service of your health. So really understanding that your training can be to add muscle mass, can be to improve consistency, can be to improve your mental health, improve your strength. All of these things are sort of the goals, and the weight loss that comes will be a byproduct of all of those. It's just people are so free to comment on how you look, because that's your billboard, right? That's the thing that's out
Yeah.
front that everyone can see. You didn't see my
Yeah.
cholesterol get into line. You didn't see my triglycerides fall, but you just saw that I lost some weight, and it was, wow, you look great.
I know.
And that's a problem, and it's a problem for me in my coaching, because people come and they say, okay, I've got osteoporosis, I'm under muscled, I want to gain some muscle mass, but I don't want to gain any weight. And we can get very nerdy and talk about the difference between mass and weight, but
Yeah. Yeah.
if you add 5 pounds of muscle, you're probably adding 5 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And that's a challenge, right? It's a goal, it's robustness, it's your bone density improved. If you added that much muscle, you are going to live longer. But God, it's hard when you look bigger, you feel bigger, you're bigger on the scale. It tells you, right? That's the feedback we get.
It is one of the things I do. It's so important to really be very, very clear on your long-term goals, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting to have specific appearance, aesthetic goals, right? And kind of like you said, there are health reasons that require fat loss if we're trying to decrease visceral fat. So fat around the organs that can be inflammatory and lead to chronic diseases, right? That does require us to have fat loss in doing it in an appropriate way. But I find that without being really, really clear on a really, really deep rooted why behind what you want to do, you're going to fall back into this kind of like diet culture very easily. It's really hard to come out of that when it's just blasted on social media. You're seeing crazy before and after pictures. It's kind of rooted already in our brains to associate success with a number on the scale. So I really do suggest everybody sitting down. And I'm not saying a weight loss goal isn't part of the plan, right? But really like going deeper and a why. Tying this back to what you were saying, this transition from, moving away from just fat loss phase and celebrating other wins, whether that's building muscle, whether that's having more energy, a healthier relationship with food, that is not easy. I don't want to say that it is, right? But it's not easy, and it is a process, and you're going to have to work through old narratives, and you might feel a little bit uncomfortable in the moment, right? Because you kind of have to get used to this new norm and experiment with what works for you and finding what's sustainable for you. That just takes a minute, right? There's no cookie cutter program for everybody. You need to find what works for you, and that just takes experimentation. And if you are not deeply rooted in a very, very true, like, core why, you're going to revert back to dieting trends and just focusing on that number every time.
What are some of the tips as we come back? What do you tell people about that phase in between the actual holidays themselves?
Yeah, it's just getting back into normal routine. I mean, when we think about we'll just use like Thanksgiving as an example. That's just a meal from that day, right? Like, what are you doing at breakfast? What are you doing at lunch? Or some people have Thanksgiving lunch, it's enjoying those moments. Like we said, it's kind of going back to that. Okay. If it's 7 out of the 30 days of November, you have these like holiday meals, these holiday moments, out of 90 meals, it's 7 versus 70, right? That's a huge difference, right? If you're off plan or you're off your normal routine for 7 meals versus like just saying screw it, and now you're just going to continue doing that for 70 meals, that's going to throw you off. Those 7 meals are not going to throw you off to the long-term goal.
Right.
But if you kind of say hell with it, and now you just kind of are continuing that for 70 meals out of 90 meals, that is going to throw you off of getting to that ultimate
Right.
goal and
Right.
making those ultimate changes. So it's different. It's different for very specific days versus just like the whole general
Yeah.
holiday,
Yeah.
right? It's trying, because your routine's kind of off. So
Well, yeah, I just think about it like my normal meals, right? If I go from eating my breakfast basically every morning is
Mhm.
oatmeal, blueberries, some walnuts, and Greek yogurt. If I go from eating that for the holiday period to eating half of a pumpkin pie that was left over, like that's probably going to add up over time to not great for my health and not great for my goals.
Mhm.
But if I have the pumpkin pie when I'm supposed to have the pumpkin pie and then go back to having my oatmeal the next day,
Mhm.
I'm probably going to be fine.
Yes, you're definitely going to be fine. Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh. It really
Right.
is just getting back into a normal routine, honestly. And that can be difficult. I mean, we're underestimating, you know, it's not just about the chaos of your schedule. It's also it's the emotional weight of the season
Mm-hmm.
that can be really hard for people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
because the holidays amplify emotions on
Mm-hmm.
both ends of the spectrum. So, on one end, I have clients that are like super festive and want to do all the celebrating, and it's kind of taking them off their routine, and they're putting themselves in situations where health goals might be thrown out the window a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then we have the opposite side where this can be a very emotional time for people, and they're navigating grief or
Yeah.
loneliness, right? And they're using food to kind of cope or for comfort. And
Mm-hmm.
so this can kind of add a little bit more difficulty with kind of going back into a normal day-to-day routine after a meal, like
Mm-hmm.
a one-off holiday meal or
Mm-hmm.
eating the holiday candy, right? And so tying that back to this might be difficult for some people. So can we just kind of stick to, 2 to 3 supportive like anchor habits? Like I'm going to go outside and go for a walk every day
Mm-hmm.
through the holiday season.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of that what is our low tank habits that we can just continue to implement when we're kind of struggling to go back to a normal routine because we might be feeling depressed or, like I said, grief, or
Yeah.
the total opposite of like we're just being super festive and
Yeah.
celebrating and we're like
Yeah.
off our routine. So I would suggest having these kind of like core foundational anchor habits. If that's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
case, like you're really struggling going into the holiday season. And this allows you to still feel like you're making forward progress and forward momentum, even during a really difficult period of
Mm-hmm.
time. But also tying back to what you and I were talking about early on is setting expectations,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, is if I can't do 3 to 4 days at the gym, can I work out at home? Kind of what you were
Yeah.
saying. Like,
Yeah.
do I have 20 minutes? I stole 5 pound weights from my parents' house here. I'm
Right.
visiting my parents in Pennsylvania, and I'm just like making things up, like my
Yeah.
schedule is off totally. Right. And
Yeah.
I'm just, what are the things that I can kind of do to make myself feel like I'm still prioritizing me? That's also something that I would like to share too, is this is with the majority of the women that I work with, it's really hard for them to prioritize themselves in general.
Mm-hmm.
This may
Mm-hmm.
be, when we start working together, and I mentioned, I work with a lot of women through this, in their 40s, 50s, and this menopausal transition, where oftentimes this is the first time they've actually prioritized their health and themselves for a
Yeah.
very long time.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to go into the holiday season and being like, oh, I'm going to go back to
Yeah.
what feels comfortable or what I'm used to, and I'll prioritize myself again
Yeah.
in the new year, right?
Yeah.
And
Or it's
so,
what other people are comfortable with, right? If
yes.
people are coming back into your home and
Yeah.
they are used to you being in a certain role, they're going to want you to stay in that role, right? That's a really
Yeah.
challenging things for people.
You prioritizing you is okay even in the holiday
Hmm.
season.
Right.
And in
Right.
fact, I want you to prioritize yourself in the holiday season. And
Yes.
that doesn't mean that takes anything away from you, enjoying family and taking care of family that, at the same time, but it might look a little different during the
Hmm.
holidays,
Hmm.
right? So prioritizing yourself might be, I'm going out in the sunshine to take some space away from
Yeah.
relatives visiting,
Right.
but I really do suggest at least having one or two anchor supportive habits that you are pretty consistent with,
Yeah.
especially if you're really struggling um, with emotions in the holiday season, or your schedule is totally thrown off,
Yeah.
and just having a lot of self-compassion with yourself during this time,
Hmm.
um, because of all the reasons that we listed.
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Yeah. I think those, again, coming back to those low tank habits,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of mine immediately as I think into the holidays, going for a walk immediately after dinner, right? Or after one of these big meals. And I think that's something you can include the family in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go for a walk together. We know there's so many benefits to light activity like walking after we eat, for glucose absorption, regulation, all these benefits that we get for our health. So number one for me would be just keep walking, and it's super easy. It's
Yeah.
not a big grueling workout where you're away from everyone. You can do it together. We used to do that actually as a family. Like after Christmas, would be go for a walk.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's so funny. My grandmother, she would always say, like, okay, we're going for a walk after, Thanksgiving or big meals. And I would be like, oh God, this is so annoying. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
why are we
yeah,
as a kid, you're like, why, this is so stupid. And now
yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm like literally telling everybody to do this. Like what, she was like a genius.
Exactly,
but
exactly.
but absolutely, that is one of the most amazing habits that you can implement and get the whole
Yeah,
family involved. So you're still prioritizing yourself,
yeah,
involving the family. You might have to bribe the kids to go along with you, but
yeah, 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 yeah. Another of mine, just I think a ton about environmental design and just how we shape the environment, and it just helps me with maintaining habits. So we will tend to
yes.
have our things where we have the meals, and we enjoy them, and we enjoy the day. But when we've then got leftovers and our environment has shifted to where these things that we wouldn't normally be eating are now in our environment, because we normally keep
Mm,
it where if we're going to have a treat, we go out and get it, right? We go get it, we go to the place. We would go to McConnell's in Santa Barbara with you and eat the ice cream, go home, right? And then your environment sort of guides the rest of your habits.
yeah.
So with our leftovers, we will immediately sort of put them into like meal containers and put them in the freezer, like right away, so it's not to be grazed on,
Yeah.
all between meals, having more big meals. We will then be deliberate about when we enjoy some of those leftovers. And I'd be really curious to hear, like, what are some of the habits that you put in place for those low tank moments?
For me personally,
Yeah.
oh, it's definitely getting outside.
Hmm.
Definitely. 5 minutes. Um, absolutely. Getting out and not in Pennsylvania. It's been a little difficult visiting Pennsylvania, getting
Yeah.
outside when it's getting really cold. But still, that just a reframe, getting out, breathing fresh air, walk after meals. I can go out in pajamas, like I said, I always ask women, like on the first day of your menstrual cycle, like what seems doable. I can get outside in my pajamas for a walk, right? For five
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
That's a low tank activity. When it comes to nutrition, to your point, environment is absolutely key. So always stocking things in my freezer, having frozen meals ready to go at all times, like making sure that the freezer can be your best friend in those moments. Absolutely. I love that you suggested freezing parts of holiday meals to have it in there. And so I always batch cook things. So I'm not the dietitian that wants to be in the kitchen all the time making fancy recipes. If I'm in the kitchen, I'm going to make use of my time. And I normally double recipes, triple recipes, and then freeze them for those moments when it's a low tank day and I can just pull those meals out really easily. And that this kind of ties to what I was saying about the experimentation piece, because oftentimes people are like, well, I hate frozen putting things in the freezer. But I really do suggest, because I was that person at one point, I do suggest trial and error. Experiment, man. You have to kind of like make meal, put it in the freezer, see what happens. Like you know, like you kind of have to create your own roles and see what works for you. And so I think those are my big low tank days. It's always freezer meals and then getting outside.
Yeah. The other thing that we do that I think is really helpful to sort of systematize and automate a little bit is look at our calendar and actually plan the days. So we're super busy. We've started a running program. Writing on the calendar what days we're going to do our runs, what days are we going to do our lifts, and when, like actually scheduling things from an activity standpoint. Like, so if you're going to visit family and you can't get your usual 4 or 5 workouts in, when are you going to do the 2? Don't just say we'll do 2 this week. When specifically, because then you don't have to think about it. Like, Tuesday, 2:00, you've got a window there, you're going to the gym or you're going to go do your walk, your run, whatever it might be. I think that automation piece from a training standpoint, when I'm working with my clients, that's how we'll navigate these periods. And I think you can even, to a certain extent, do that with your meals. Plan your menu. And when are you having those treats? We know what we're eating for Thanksgiving. What are you eating the day after? Right. And know that going in, maybe do some prep or, I think that these are just ways that you can have that environment work for you a little bit and take away the decision fatigue.
Yeah. I actually call it future me planning.
Future me hates now me. Or maybe the other way around.
Future me planning. It can look differently depending on the person, but in its simplest way, it's just taking 5 minutes the night before to kind of say, hey, this is kind of what I'm envisioning for breakfast. This is kind of what I'm envisioning for lunch, dinner, because you have no idea what's going to happen the next day, right? And especially tying that to the holidays, our mental capacity is maxed. Like our physical mental capacity is maxed. So oftentimes when you're like, oh God, what am I going to have for dinner? It's draining. You don't want to think about it. And just taking that 5 minutes the night before to kind of just have a general idea so that if you get into that day and chaos ensues, right, you kind of already have a general plan. And that doesn't mean you have to follow it like exactly. But it at least doesn't take as much energy the next day. When
you take the motivation kind of out of it. Right. Yeah. That you don't have to be up for it, motivated, ready to go. It's just, that's what we're doing. Right. It's planned. It's just, that's what's next on the schedule.
And it also helps. Oftentimes I'll use it as a tool for those that may be in situations where they're either tempted or they're finding it difficult to, not eat all the things in the office around the holidays and stuff like that. So if you kind of like future me plan it, is what I call it. You can kind of say, all right, this is kind of what I have mapped out. And so it makes moving through that day, that next day, a little bit easier, knowing, okay, well, I know I'm already planning this for lunch. So I'm not going to snack on these things because that's going to, that wasn't really part of the plan. That doesn't mean you have to follow it strictly, like I said, but it kind of helps you eliminate those in the moment cravings. A conversation I just had with a client a couple of days ago. She's like, everyone keeps around this time, no one wants to pack food. And so everyone in the office is ordering lunches out. Right. And it's been difficult for her. So we were like, let's just future me plan the night before. Even if you know that the food is going to be ordered out, that can be planned ahead of time. So you're not like in the moment being like, I'm so stressed out. All I want to eat is French fries. That's coming from my own brain. What happens when I am stressed and I haven't planned out,
Yeah, but me too, because you're hungry in that moment.
Yes.
Right? That's the thing. Like, if you know that there's going to be an order in, go and look at the menu the night before, after dinner, when you're not hungry, and decide what you're going to have. So when you're asked, you can just tell them. But if you're looking at the menu when you're hungry, of course you're ordering French fries.
To that point, it's also not a way for you to be very restrictive. When I talk about future me planning, I'm talking about like actually planning things that you love and enjoy. It's kind of like going into Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas parties. If you kind of know already that like, oh my God, I cannot wait to eat this very specific thing. You go into knowing that you're having it, right? We don't really want to create restriction during this time. The more you restrict, the harder it's going to be to essentially go about your day as normal and eating normally, right? When we kind of plan those things into our day, that takes away the restriction piece of it. And you're less likely to overdo it or eat too much of the thing that you can allow yourself to have in the first place.
Yeah, and I think it's your mental health as well. Like, if you're that restrictive, you're not going to enjoy the holidays. Right? If you're just beating yourself up for what you ate, and it's all about restriction and this like virtue of like discipline. To me, that's not discipline. Like, not enjoying your family's Christmas.
Yeah.
Is not discipline. I think that's getting into this disordered eating model that I think we've really got to avoid with the over restriction. And I've been very guilty of that, certainly early in my career, where you don't fully understand it and you just think about like this discipline, and you do think of it as a virtue to never stray, never slip up. There are good foods and there are bad foods. And I think with more experience and more knowledge and more mentors in this space, you just learn more about like, oh, okay, like it's all okay. We just learn how to navigate the landscape.
Yeah. I always tell clients that restriction is kind of like, I guess it's a slingshot. When you pull back the slingshot, right? The more and more you restrict, the more and more you're pulling this back, the harder it's going to go the opposite direction. So the more you restrict, and that's not just physical restriction, that's mental restriction too. So if you go into the holidays, I'll say this, if you go into the holidays and you're like, I'm going to allow myself to enjoy time with family and eat the foods I love, but the whole entire time you're eating it, you're mentally restricting, meaning you're like, I shouldn't be eating this. I'm going to have to burn this off. I'm going to start over again on Monday, and you're not fully present to actually enjoy it and eat it. That is a form of restriction. It's just as impactful as actually physically being like, no, I'm not going to eat that, or I don't want that in the house, or, so you're constantly creating this tension of restriction. And then eventually it's just going to, go the opposite direction. And then that can lead to binging episodes or overconsumption and that type of thing, which we want to be really careful with.
Exactly right. I think whether it's at the holidays, or I think maybe it's even looking at the holidays as just a part of this bigger picture. How we strategize our way through that is going to be unique to you. There are going to be some core principles that underlie it.
Yeah.
But put systems in place that are going to allow you to spend most of your time within what you do. And I think you're really going to be able to get through this holiday period relatively unscathed, at least from a nutritional and a training standpoint now. Emotionally, I can't really help you. But I just think that's going to be key. Not being too restrictive during the holidays, not thinking that one meal is going to derail you. It's not letting that one meal really derail you. I just think that's this non-extreme approach is how we've got to look at everything.
Yeah. But that's boring, Jeremy.
I told you.
I know.
I am a boring coach.
Same. We joke around all the time. Like, I don't post on social media. And I say this to you all the time. If I posted on social media, it would be so boring because I would be saying the same thing over and over. Well, but it works. I know it's boring. I know it's not flashy and fancy. And
well, we joke about it like your post could be like, here's 5 things to do this and this. It's just the same 5 things, just to do different things.
I know. My goodness.
From today's conversation, I want 3 takeaways that our listeners can go away and put into their lives tomorrow morning.
Number 1, definitely let's be realistic about what the next couple of months looks like and how we can fit some core supportive anchor habits in place to keep that momentum and keep moving forward and not losing sight of the ultimate goal, but still allowing you room to just enjoy time with family and have it be a festive, fun time of the year. So that would be number 1.
Good.
And number 2 would be to avoid the all or nothing mentality around the holidays and enjoy those moments, enjoy those off meals, right? And think about it from the standpoint of all the, what I call eating opportunities throughout the holiday time, and really get back into a normal routine, normal meals in between those holiday events, Thanksgiving or a holiday party. Those are just a couple of meals, a couple of moments over the course of the holiday season. I think it's really important just to enjoy those moments and then just get back into a normal routine the rest of the time and, enjoying yourself.
And a third.
100% the third one is walk after meals, but any kind of movement. I have a client that she plays 3 songs after a meal and dances in the kitchen.
I love that.
After every meal. Yeah. So any kind of movement. I don't care if you're doing squats in the kitchen. It is nutrition related because it helps with glucose regulation and digestion and all the things, but definitely movement after a meal is key.
Amazing. I heard on another podcast, the time from Christmas or Thanksgiving to New Year is less important than the time from New Year to Thanksgiving. Right? So enjoy your holidays. Yeah. Connect with people.
Yeah. Wait, I have another one, actually. I have this thing where I call level up meals or elevate. I have a client that she prefers saying I'm elevating my meals instead of leveling up meals. But
fancy.
Instead of just saying, hey, this meal's got to be perfect, I always suggest looking at a meal and how can I just level it up, right? It does not have to be perfect. So can I add color to a meal? Can I add a vegetable to a meal? Can I find a protein source to add to a meal? can I drink water at this meal instead of an alcoholic beverage? You don't need to absolutely transform or eat something totally, completely different, because we are going to be in a lot of situations in the holidays where we might not have control over the meal, or situations where we're out. And so just feeling like you're still prioritizing you and your health, how can you level up a meal? That's always a good one, because you can do that anywhere, and you don't really need any like tools or anything.
That's right. That's right. I love that. I love that. We will definitely add that in as a bonus takeaway.
Okay, great.
Where can people find you? Where can people follow along with you?
I am on Instagram at Erika Hoffmaster.
Excellent. And can people reach out to you through your website?
My website is erikahoffmaster.com. And there's a place on there where you can send me an email, or to work with me one-on-one, there's an application. But you can always just reach out to me on social media if you want to chat, and we can set up a time to talk.
Beautiful. Erika, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the holidays.
Great. You too.
It was so much fun having Erika on the podcast tonight. I can't tell you how many times we've sat with Erika at Handlebar Coffee in Santa Barbara, and we've just spent 3 or 4 hours sitting and discussing all things nutrition. So it was just awesome to be able to sit and share one of those conversations with you today. Here are the 3 key things that you can take away from this episode. Number 1, be realistic about the next couple of months and identify core anchor habits you can maintain even as things start to fall apart. Whether it's a 5-minute walk or keeping frozen meals ready to go, these low-tank habits keep you moving forward while still enjoying festive time with family. Number 2, avoid the all-or-nothing mentality by recognizing that maybe 7 out of 90 meals this month are actually holiday events. Enjoy those moments fully and intentionally, then return to your normal routine for the other 83 times without guilt or restriction. Number 3, move after meals in whatever way feels good. Walk around the neighborhood with family, dance to 3 songs in the kitchen, or do squats while cleaning up. Movement helps with glucose regulation and keeps you connected to healthy habits without being restrictive. As a bonus takeaway, level up your meals instead of pursuing perfection. Add color, include a vegetable, find a protein source, or choose water over alcohol. You don't need to transform every meal completely to prioritize your health. If this episode resonated with you, the best way to support the show is to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts, leave a rating or a review, and maybe share this episode with somebody that you think would benefit from hearing the message. It makes a real difference in helping us reach more people who could benefit from these conversations. You can stay connected with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Vitality Collective Performance, where we share additional insights, behind-the-scenes content, and updates on upcoming episodes. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.